Decades before the Hindenburg disaster, a luxury leviathan of the skies vanished not in flames, but into a cloud bank, leaving behind a trail of classified documents and a mystery that reached the highest levels of the British Admiralty. In the summer of 1921, the world was still reeling from the Great War, yet the eyes of the great powers were fixed firmly on the heavens. This was the dawn of the airship era, a time when these hydrogen-filled giants were seen as the future of both global commerce and maritime dominance. At the center of this ambition was the R38, known to the Americans as the ZR-2. It was, at the time, the largest aircraft ever constructed, a silver colossus nearly 700 feet long, designed to dwarf anything that had come before it. It was born from a secret military pact between the United Kingdom and the United States. The British had the engineering expertise, and the Americans, seeking to bolster their naval reconnaissance capabilities, had the capital. Together, they intended to create an aerial titan capable of crossing the Atlantic with ease, serving as a permanent eye in the sky. The R-38 was more than a machine. It was a statement of post-war supremacy. However, beneath its shimmering duralumin skin, a catastrophic failure was already taking shape. To understand why this giant fell, we must look at the environment in which it was built. The Royal Airship Works at Cardington was under immense pressure to innovate. The design of the R-38 was an evolution of captured German Zeppelin technology, but the British engineers wanted to push the boundaries of speed and height. They lightened the frame to an extreme degree to allow for greater fuel capacity and altitude, a decision that would ultimately prove fatal. By August 1921, the R-38 was undergoing its final series of test flights before being handed over to the United States Navy. On board were the finest aeronautical minds of two nations, including Air Commodore Edward Maitland, a pioneer of British airship travel. Through the recovered diaries and letters of the crew, we get a glimpse into the final hours of the flight. There was a sense of pride, but also a growing unease. Some crew members had noted that the ship felt tender, a nautical term meaning it was overly sensitive to movement, lacking the rigid stability required for a vessel of its size. On the evening of August 24th, the R-38 was cruising over the city of Hull. The weather was clear, and thousands of spectators looked up in awe as the silver giant moved gracefully through the air. The mission for this final leg was a series of high-speed maneuvers designed to test the ship's rudder response. At 5:37 p.m., the pilot began a series of sharp, rhythmic turns at nearly 60 miles per hour. The physics of the situation were unforgiving. As the massive tail section swung, the aerodynamic loads placed a level of transverse stress on the midsection that the lightened frame simply could not withstand. The investigation that followed the disaster provides a chilling account of what happened next. Declassified documents from the Court of Inquiry revealed that the ship did not simply fail, it buckled. Eyewitnesses on the ground reported hearing two distinct cracks, like the sound of artillery fire, echoing across the Humber estuary. The R-38 snapped in two. The forward section, containing the control car and most of the crew, immediately caught fire as the hydrogen cells were ruptured by the twisting metal. A massive explosion followed, shattering windows across the city of Hull and sending a plume of black smoke thousands of feet into the air. Of the 49 men on board, 44 were killed. It remains one of the deadliest aviation disasters in history, yet it has been largely erased from the public consciousness. The evidence suggests that the disaster was not merely an accident of weather or pilot error, but a fundamental failure of engineering. The Court of Inquiry found that the designers had failed to account for the dynamic stresses of high-speed turning. They had built a ship that was strong enough to sit still, but too fragile to move. Perhaps more disturbing was the political aftermath. In the weeks following the crash, there was a concerted effort by the British government to manage the narrative. The reputations of the aeronautical engineers at Cardington were protected, and the full extent of the structural warnings raised by some junior officers was suppressed. The Anglo-American airship program, once a symbol of unity, was quietly dismantled. The wreckage of the R38 was salvaged from the mud of Humber, and the world moved on, waiting for the next great hope in air travel. It is worth considering why the Hindenburg is a household name, while the R38 is a footnote. The Hindenburg was captured on film, its destruction broadcast to a world on the brink of another war. The R38 fell in an era where news traveled slower, and its failure was seen as a technical setback rather than a symbolic end to an era. Yet, the loss of the R38 was arguably more significant. It ended the dream of British airship dominance and fundamentally changed how we calculate the safety of large-scale structures. If you value these deep dives into the forgotten corners of our past, please hit the subscribe button and like this video to help the channel grow. Your support allows us to continue investigating the stories that history has overlooked. Today, the R38 lies largely forgotten, though parts of its twisted frame are still tucked away in museum archives, and small pieces of the wreckage are occasionally found in the silt of the estuary. It serves as a haunting reminder of the cost of overambition and the dangers of prioritizing performance over structural integrity. The men who died over Hull were pioneers, but they were also victims of a rush to conquer the skies before we truly understood the forces at play. This leads us to a final, lingering question. Do you think the R38 disaster was a simple engineering failure, born of the limitations of the time, or was there deliberate pressure to overlook safety in the name of military dominance? Let us know your theory in the comments.